Everything that is described in this chapter is the author's hypothesis. For most readers and researchers, this hypothesis seems unrealistic, something even provocative. Of course, it will undergo massive criticism, especially in the West, because it opens the curtain of the secret history of the world. However, I would urge inquisitive readers and analysts not to discard it immediately. It is possible to find some evidence to support my point of view. Joseph Stalin was the sole and successful director of Russia's information war in the 20th century. He was both an ideologue and organizer of the information war. All the other heroes of the Russian Revolution of 1917 were implementing plans of the directors of the information war against Russia from other countries: Vladimir Lenin, Germany and the British Empire, Leon Trotsky, the main agent of the British Empire, etc. Why was Stalin able to win the information war against the British Empire, which destroyed the Russian Empire, and to turn the Soviet Union into a nuclear superpower? Why did he overcome the alien doctrine of globalism imposed on Russia by the British Empire, the doctrine of proletariat and internationalism, and was able to return to the national geopolitical doctrine of Moscow? Third, Rome. When I became a specialist in the information war in the 1990s, and having received certain skills in conducting intelligence and counterintelligence activities, I began to ask myself the question: how is it that Stalin was able to do what many Russian emperors couldn't do from the 18th century to the 20th century? What did Stalin draw on, building his information and ideological line? How was he able to turn the Chikal, created by Lenin and Trotsky for the destruction of the nationalist-oriented elite of the Russian Empire, into an effective tool to combat the British Empire? Much more has to be understood and comprehended by reading pre-revolutionary secret archives, the archives of the Central Committee of the CPSU and the Soviet KGB. My hypothesis is that Stalin was the quintessence of many generations of patriotic professionals in Russia, operating for centuries, since the time of the great Tsar of Moscow, Ivan the Terrible. So Stalin was grown and maintained by the best patriotic intellectual forces of Russia, and especially Russian military intelligence. And it's no wonder if we take into account the true origins of Stalin. Joseph Stalin Jugasvili was born on December 21, 1879 in the town of Gori, Tiflis Province. His father, according to the official biography Vasily Ivanovich, an ethnic Georgian, came from the peasants of the village of Didili Lower, Tiflis Province. He was a cobbler by trade, later working at the Adelkhanavia shoe factory in Tbilisi. The mother was Kitevan Geladze, of the Geladze serf family in the village of Gambaruli. But, in fact, Stalin's real father was the prominent Russian intelligence officer Nikolai Prhervalsky, a major general of the Russian General Staff. Nikolai Mikhailovich Prhervalsky was born on April 12, 1839, Kimbrevia village, Smolensk into a noble family. Since childhood he dreamed of traveling. In 1855 he graduated from a Smolensk school. In 1861 he enrolled at the General Staff Academy, where he completed his first geographical work. Military Geographical Review of the Amur region, for which the Russian Geographical Society elected him a member. In 1863 he finished an academic course and went to Poland as a volunteer to suppress the uprising there. Then he served in Warsaw as teacher of history and geography at a cadet school, where he was seriously engaged in self-education, preparing to become a professional researcher of unexplored countries. In 1866 he was assigned to eastern Siberia, of which he dreamed. With the support of the Russian Geographical Society he made the trip from 1867 to 1869. This resulted in the book Journey to the Ussuri region and a rich collection for the Geographical Society. In 1870 the Russian Geographical Society organized an expedition to Central Asia. Przewalski was appointed as its chief. With him went Lieutenant Mikhail Piltsev. Their way lay through Moscow and Irkutsk and then through Kyoto to Beijing, where Przewalski received the permission to travel from the Chinese government. He was heading to Tibet. Przewalski was the first European to penetrate into the deep region of northern Tibet, to the upper reaches of the Yellow River and the Yangtze River Ulan-Muran. He determined that the Bayan-Arula is the watershed between the river systems. He returned to Kyoto in September of 1873 without reaching the capital of Tibet, Lhasa. In the deserts and mountains of Mongolia and China, Przewalski passed more than 11,800 kilometers and mapped on a scale of 10 miles to 1 inch about 5,700 kilometers. His contemporaries were struck by the scientific results of this expedition. Przewalski gave detailed descriptions of the Gobi Desert, Ordos and Lashan, the mountainous regions of northern Tibet and the hollows of Sedum discovered by him. He, for the first time, mapped more than 20 ranges of Central Asia, 7 large and several small lakes. The two-volume work Mongolia and the Tatat Country 1875 to 1876 earned him worldwide fame and has been translated into several European languages. The Russian Geographical Society awarded him a gold medal and the highest award, the rank of lieutenant colonel, a lifetime pension of 600 rubles annually. He also received the gold medal of the Paris Geographical Society. His name is now placed alongside Piotr Semyonovsky, Adam Johann von Krusenstern and Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen, David Livingstone and Henry Morton Stanley. In January of 1876, Przewalski introduced to the Russian Geographical Society the plan for a new expedition. During this trip, 1876 to 1877, Przewalski passed through Central Asia, covering more than 4,000 kilometers. The trip was cut short by the war in western China, the worsening of relations between China and Russia, and his illness. But it was still a journey marked by two major geographical discoveries: the lower reaches of Darim and a group of lakes and ridges of Altintab. After that trip he was resting in Russia, in the Caucasus. At first he was treated in Kislovodsk. Then he found himself in the town of Gori. Fate brought Prhervalsky to a young and beautiful Georgian, Kitevan Geladze, who worked as a maid in the hotel where he lived for several weeks. They loved each other, and, as a result of their passionate romance, the son Joseph appeared. In March of 1879 Prhervalsky began a journey that he called the First Tibetan. It was emotionally inspired by the passionate romance with Kitevan. During this journey he covered about 8,000 kilometers and surveyed more than 4,000 kilometers across the regions of Central Asia. For the first time he explored the upper reaches of the Yellow River Huanghe for more than 250 kilometers. He opened the reaches of Semyonov and Ugud-Yula. He described two new species of animals, the Prhervalsky horse and the Pichkov baran. His assistant, Vsevolod assembled a huge botanical collection, about 12,000 specimens of plants, 1,500 species. Their observations and research results were outlined by Prhervalsky in his 1883 book From the Zayzant through Khmer to Tibet and on the upper reaches of the Yellow River. The result of his 3 expeditions was an entirely new map of Central Asia. Soon, he filed a Russian Geographical Society research project about the origins of the Yellow River. In November of 1883 he started his next, 4th, journey. He passed a long way in 2 years, 7,815 kilometers, almost entirely without roads. On the northern border of Tibet was a whole mountainous country with majestic mountain ranges. Nothing was known about them in Europe. He investigated the origins of the Yellow River, and discovered and described large Russian and other lakes. New types of birds, mammals, reptiles and fish were added to the collection. In the herbarium new species of plants were added. In 1888, Prhervalsky's last work saw the light of day, From Chiroptic to the Origins of the Yellow River. In the same year Prhervalsky organized a new expedition to Central Asia. They reached the village of Karakol, near the eastern shore of Lake Issyk-Kul. Here, Prhervalsky became ill with typhoid fever. He died on November 1, 1888. On the gravestone, according to his testament, was inscribed a modest inscription, Traveler N.M. Prhervalsky. In 1889 Karakol was renamed Prhervalsk. Prhervalsky used his right as